Welcome to the Duluth Conservative. It is December 11th, 2025, and Dave and I are here as your hosts to talk about some stuff that has to do with Minnesota, Duluth, national and international news in a very kind of calm and conversational manner, as opposed to, let's say, more screaming and yelling, which we see on, I don't know, Fox News, let's say. How's it going, Dave?
Surviving. Like we were talking, I didn't get bit by any mosquitoes today, so that's a good thing for Minnesota.
And what's the forecast look like for Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's negative 30 or something like that, negative 35. So,
well, it's negative 13 regular, and then 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. So I think it would actually reach into the negative 30 range.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to start a fire and not do anything.
Yes, but like I said, no mosquitoes. So there is a bonus. There's a bright side to everything. So
that's because we live in an at least state. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah.
It's bitterly cold, and my fingers just turned black. But at least there isn't hurricanes.
Right.
If you live in someplace, you always have to figure out a way to make it worthwhile there. And Minnesota is definitely in at least state.
At least we're not Mississippi.
Yeah, at least the dead frogs aren't falling from the sky. Right. When I lived in Maui, I didn't have to do that. I used to say, well, I live in Maui. Man, it's nice here. But no, now it's, you got to get your at least in every time.
Of course, Mississippi's got a better education system than Minnesota does now.
That is sad,
we can't even say that anymore. We can't say,
no.
At least I'm not from Mississippi. Well, I can't really say that anymore. So.
Yeah, you wish you were from Mississippi.
Exactly, yeah.
I bet you they're not going to be negative 13 this weekend.
No, but I did see that the cold wave got down, so they were into the 20s. So that's got to be worse. But there's no snow, so that's...
Well, let's kick off the show here. And here's the funny thing about the show tonight. We go into this every week not intending a certain theme. And what happens is throughout the week, Dave and I find news stories and we compile and curate a list of things to go over. And then we'll talk about them in the show. Well, guess what today's almost the whole show is about Minnesota fraud. Yeah. And I put that in the banner in the picture. We used to be the land of 10,000 lakes. Now we're the land of 10,000 cons or 10,000 frauds. Right. And the funny thing is, and I have a link. I'll have a link to this American Experiment. They're a think tank, conservative think tank, and I think they're nationwide, but they have a base here in Minnesota. They've been covering this for years. So the nice thing for them is now with all the stuff finally coming up in national attention, they're just regurgitating their old stories and they're getting millions of hits. And apparently Elon Musk retweeted one of their things, and now they've gotten a lot of hits because of it. Because when you get Elon Musk on you, people pay attention. So,
yeah, I mean, it's sad that we have national, if not international, attention on Minnesota fraud,
which is great. It's just the bad kind of attention.
Yeah, right now they can't sweep it under the rug, so that's the main thing. So
yeah, which they've been doing. They were pretty successful in doing that for many years. With when Governor Walz got elected, I mean, how many people actually wanted him to be governor? We don't know. Everything that they had on him was swept under the rug at the state level, and certainly at the local level here in Duluth. And I saw that firsthand when I ran last year for Minnesota House. I was getting my opponent, nothing that she did that was really bad or adverse to the state was being covered at all. Now, even if you don't think it's adverse, you have to cover the story of what she's proposing, and that wasn't being covered at all. Right. So we see that firsthand. But let's dump into the Minnesota frauds. We're going to talk about the first story we saw, which is ballot fraud. And it's ballot fraud operation in Minnesota run by Ilhan Omar, apparently. So I've got the link up there. 300 ballots at a time. Who is the one filing out the absentee ballots? People who work for Ilhan Omar and other candidates. They work for them. So this is a Newsmax story, I believe.
Yep.
So this is just another example. So I've been saying this for years, and you can back me up on this, Dave, because you've heard me spout about this quite a bit. I don't think we've had a fair election in Minnesota since Al Franken was elected. My theory is that Jesse Ventura broke the system here. When Jesse Ventura ran, he was just like when Trump started running, they dismissed him outright. And Jesse Ventura ran a brilliant campaign. I remember it when I was watching it. His campaign was fantastic. And if he'd have run the state like he ran his campaign, it would have been fantastic, but he didn't do that. But when he won, I have a feeling that the people in Minnesota, the higher ups, the elected officials said, that's never going to happen again. And the reason I say that about Al Franken is because Al Franken lost the election.
Right.
And then at the last hour, 11th hour, somebody found ballots in a trunk of a car that took him over the edge. So they found it. Hey, in a trunk of a car, I have all these ballots for Al Franken. And that's when he won the election. Since then, I've been very wary about the elections in Minnesota. So seeing that there's ballot fraud tied to Ilhan Homer, I'm not surprised.
Right. And, like Jesse Ventura, that was the beginning of the two-party system. Yeah. So both of them got together, made sure, because Ventura was the most overridden governor in Minnesota history, because the two parties got together and made sure he couldn't do anything. And then ever since that, there was just nobody even came close. And even the marijuana party, the Democrats just, passed cannabis. So that was the end of that party.
Sure. Yeah. The funny thing is that if I look back at all the governors who have been governors since I've been in Minnesota, the one I can point to that did the best for the people that live here was Jesse Ventura. Right. And I'll tell you about the two things I can think of off the top of my head. Number one, car license tabs went to $35 for everybody.
Yep.
They were multiple hundreds of dollars for a bull beater car. Number two, he stopped the traffic lights going onto the highway system down in the Twin Cities. Everybody said this is going to be the worst. It's going to cause all of it. It made traffic run so much smoother when they took that out.
Right.
So that's Jesse. So voter fraud with Ilhan Omar, that's the first thing. And then we talk about fraud in Minnesota. So Lisa Demuth, who is going to be running for governor as a Republican, had a little session. She came up and she talked about, and this is kind of too long of a clip to actually play, but she was talking about how in 2028 and 2029, Minnesota is projected to spend $5.4 billion more than we collect. And just remember, that's on top of them having just raised our taxes by $10 billion last year and increasing the size of the government by 40%. Now that alone is what causes this kind of spend. So they're not going to be taking in the revenue they think they are. They originally thought they were going to have an $8 billion deficit coming into this year. And now it's just down to $3 billion.
Right. But they're claiming a $2.5 million surplus for the next budget. So are they going to spend $10 billion thinking that, and we won't worry about the $3 billion. That's down the road. If we spend $10 billion now.
I fear to see what they're going to do, because as we were talking about it before the show, many of these people that are running the cities, the state, they have absolutely no business experience whatsoever. They don't know how to make a budget, less run to one. They may be doing it on a personal level, but they don't know how to do it as a business and how to keep people accountable. And what Lisa said was last year, Governor Walz blamed increases in social service spending as the main driver of the deficit that was created. Well, yeah, that's what your trifecta did. You increased the size of the government by 40%. That's what you get.
Right.
But then she said, but now we know much of that increase was a result of fraud, which we're going to start dropping down on a couple of these pretty quick here. So Minnesota Democrats allegedly let tax dollars fund terrorists as police left without money to protect public. And that's from the police union. So the police union is saying, we were not receiving the funds and the terrorists were getting the funds. The police union leader warned Minnesota could lose another 2,500 officers over the next few years. So this is a problem with what we're seeing in Minnesota and Minneapolis in particular. They don't feel that the government has their back. They think if they do something wrong, even the slightest degree, they're going to get arrested or thrown in jail. And they don't have the funding they need, so they're understaffed. And that's going to cause a cascading effect. We've lost so many police officers. Many of them retired during COVID-19 because they saw the writing on the wall. Right. So they got out. And now you've got this cascading effect of not enough money and the money going to people that are actually going against the government, going against the police. So they're funding people to fight against the police.
Well, that's part of the problem is they're losing money. I mean, the billions we're losing because of fraud could easily be spent for protection, could easily be used for schools, roads. You know, that's why fraud is such a huge deal that they're not, and to have Walz not care about it just drives people insane. So
that brings up an interesting point, which is, remember when the reps got shot this last year?
Yeah.
Some guy attacked them at their houses. They put staunch security on the Capitol, I believe. But when it happens to a school, they don't do anything to protect the schools. They don't put an armed guard there. They don't put an ex-military person there. So it tells you where their priorities are as far as spending money goes.
Yeah, and we'll actually get to a story later today about ICE and people watching the schools, but like you said, but not when there's active shooters.
Right. Next story down is the Minnesota Department of Health Services is placing a 2-year moratorium on disability services licensing after applications skyrocketed 283%. They admit the surge is far beyond actual demand and was flagged for potential fraud, citing the need for more oversight. So let me just say this. Thank God this is starting to get to their attention where they're starting to do something about it before it actually happens, right? They see the increase in the fraud. They see the increase in the people doing applications. They put 2 and 2 together. Somebody's on the ball. So good job. This is the same department that 400 of them accused Tim Walz of retribution because they were trying to speak out against fraud. So the DHS is starting to look much better in my eyes, because for a while there, it seemed like all the fraud was happening and none of the response was happening. Now you find out they were trying to do something and they were getting attacked by the governor itself.
Yeah, and people wonder why there's no politicians losing their job or going to jail over this.
Right.
And now we're starting to even see that, because a politician is going to go to jail over this. But we're starting to, the people that are actually seeing the problem on a day-to-day basis are starting to inform, hey, this is the guy who's the problem. This is the problem.
Yes.
And so it's good we're finally getting the real answers to this stuff.
It's the best thing about Walz being chosen as vice presidential candidate, because the spotlight finally got put on him, where you and I and many people I know were seeing it, but nobody else was seeing it. It wasn't on a national level. People were just not paying attention. Now they have no choice to pay attention. And I think he's ticked off Trump enough so that Trump is amplifying this, and that just makes it much more loud. So,
which is awesome.
So you know about that that family leave act that's being implemented starting next month, that every employee is going to be paying towards now, but they've intentionally left it so it's underfunded to begin with.
Right.
Well, somebody asked Walz if illegal aliens can receive this, and he said, well, yeah, I think so. If they qualify, sure. So what we're doing is another program that will be tempted towards giving towards illegal aliens in our country, people that shouldn't be here in the first place. And we're spending vast amount of money and resources and treasure to get rid of, where if they hadn't been here in the first place, we could be spending that on other things. But he will not.
I like the picture because the lady that's holding the baby was like, I'm gonna punch you in the face if I didn't have a baby in my hand.
It's
She
not
knows
the
how
happiest
stupid it is.
crew, is it?
No, no one's happy behind him. Oh, we got the governor of the state here, but nobody cares. It's just pretty. It's nice to see.
She's contemplating where she's going to take her baby and beat him with it. But
Right.
probably a bad idea, right?
Yeah. So there's a program set up intentionally for fraud, basically.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They knew when they did it, and they didn't implement it right away because they wanted enough time to distance themselves from having voted for it from where it had to actually be implemented. Now the people that are very happy about it understand you will be paying into this. This isn't free like you think it is. But now for some people apparently that don't pay into it, it is free.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of questions going on that, and it was about teachers. Well, teachers have 3 months off in the summer. Can they claim it? Yes, they can. So not only do they get paid for a full year, but they can go on, even though they're not scheduled to work during the summer, they're able to collect leave. So,
well, they set it up so that last year, I think it was, they set it up so that the teachers or the people who are seasonal, like bus drivers and stuff like that, they can get I lost the words right now. Unemployment for being, So it used to be, and then who has to pay into that? Well, as a school, you have to pay the unemployment insurance for those people. So it's not free. It's another one of those things. They keep sucking it off your paycheck month to month.
Right.
And so when you think something is free, it's never free. The government doesn't produce anything. It only taxes people. So free, when you think of it, is somebody else is having to do work for you. There's a word for that, but I can't say it on here because then we get channel locked. So you do the math on that.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing though. The teachers may be able to take this just in the summer.
Yeah. So it's just, it's not even running yet, and fraud is already being pointed out to them. So
right. So I know that some of the people I've been talking to that are going to be in the House next year, what they're going to try to do is put at least some common sense things in here. Like if you're a small business with less than 5 employees, you don't have to do this, or n number of employees. I don't know what that number is, but because if you're a single business and you have one other person, you're paying into this. And that is a skilled position, probably, if it's just 2 of you and you can't replace them. And there's other conditions like that they could put into place, just like unemployment, just like other kind of taxes they do. The bigger the business, the more likely is you can absorb this. But small businesses, especially things like daycare centers and nursing homes, cannot. They cannot absorb this. They have semi-skilled workers for a lot of positions, and they can't just pay for somebody to be gone for almost half a year in some cases.
Yeah.
I found this next article or the next story to be really sad, which is we keep hearing about Somali fraud, and I'm not picking on Somalians because of their country. They are key to the feeding our future fraud and everything. But this actually may be not 1 billion and not 2 billion. It may be up to $8 billion in fraud from our state. $8 billion for we don't even have a very heavily populated state. Now, I know some of that is federal money, but still it's your money. And if it is up to $8 billion, Walz really needs to be held accountable. And I hope people are actually holding him accountable when he runs for this 3rd term.
Yeah, we have to keep this as loud as possible till the election. He's responsible for the fraud, him and Ellison, and then that's Simon. He's going for election again. That's part of his job. What about the auditor? That she's not doing her job.
Right.
All of these people combined aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So
right. What is Ellison doing? He's filing injunctions and lawsuits against the federal government about illegal aliens. He's not helping us because apparently there's a recording of him talking to those leaders saying, I'm going to take care of this. Don't you worry about it. So I hope they're really looking into him as well. I mean, Walz is at the top. He's the one that's most responsible, but there are many other people that we have to be holding accountable, just like you said, Simon and Ellison.
Yep.
Stephen Miller said, we believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. And we believe that we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. It's already shocking to me with what they've done. So, my God, if it is, it could be up to $8 billion.
Yeah, just think of what we could be properly doing with that money.
Well, that was our deficit. That could have covered our budget.
We could have put a rail line from the cities to Duluth.
Stop that. That's not funny.
Yeah, but that's what they think. So, you know what?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not give it back to the people. Give it back to the people. What are you, nuts?
That's a stupid thing that with the wrestler guy Ventura would do.
Right. Yeah.
He would give the money back to the people, but that was stupid.
The last thing in this section before we go to Tim Walz specifically is Ilhan Omar, who has also gotten Trump's ire, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Has said that the Somalians are actually victims of this. So you kind of got to get around it a little bit. She doesn't outright say that she does say that, but it's not what she's trying to say. But it's basically she's saying because there was this fraud, other Somalians that needed this help didn't get it. So they're the victims.
Right.
So instead of going to this group of Somalians, immigrants, it should have gone to this group of Somalians. It's still coming out of my pocket and not going to my family or my city. But, she's the victim. And that is the key, right? To be the victim. Make sure you're the victim all the time.
All the time, yeah.
All right, let's move on to more Tim Walz specific fraud. We're going to touch on fraud and some other things, but apparently there's these pictures of Tim with a man, and it's not just Walz, it is other Minnesotans, and I think Ilhan Omar is one of them with, you're going to bring it up here?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
So they have pictures with this con man. And his name is Abdul Dahir Ibrahim. And he's been linked to Minnesota's top sanctuary politicians. So you got Governor Walz, you got Ilhan Omar, Omar Feta, and this is a criminal. So you can kind of tell what company you keep. I mean, sure, these guys take plenty of pictures with a lot of people, but they look pretty chummy in these pictures,
Yeah, because normally I wouldn't say, hey, because these people are taking pictures with everybody, whether they know them or not. So, but these pictures are a little bit beyond just the typical, 2-second selfie that comes up. So,
right.
They obviously, based on the picture, they know what's going on. So
it looks. I don't ever take pictures like that with people I don't know.
Correct.
Yeah, you're not that happy with people. There's a different way. You can kind of tell when you're taking a picture with somebody because it's an event and you want to take a picture with them. You look happy, but that looked really chummy, Yeah. And next story is my favorite one of all time. That in light of all the fraud that's happening in the Somali immigration and coming into Minnesota and doing it, $1 billion fraud, Tim Walz goes off. So if you watch the video here, he's complaining about Donald Trump talking about him, but then he's talking about, well, it's not fair to blame Somalians on this. In fact, we need to bring more Somalians in. See, he's promising to bring more people from another country into our country. In my point of view, in my opinion, and I don't care which country it is, we're full. Stop.
Right. It might have worked back, 100 years ago, but it doesn't work anymore. We're not the same world as we used to be. we could stop all immigration. But the main thing is Walz has no control over immigration.
No.
He can, he can wish in one hand. So that's the one's going to see what fills up.
Remember what he said, though? He said that if you build a northern border wall that's 50 feet high, he'll invest in ladders that are 51 feet high. He's actively saying he will help people come into this country illegally.
Right.
That's our governor. And then somebody from, I don't know if you bring this up. She was in charge of having of people coming here. She was told to label newly arrived illegal aliens here as long-term disabled. And if they, even for headaches or back pain, she says they'd get Social Security for life. Once they're classified, that's it. They're here forever. Now, I can't, here's one that I don't know who this woman is. I don't know her background. I can't tell you her credentials. I'm just telling you what she said. And that just boils my blood, because Social Security is one of those things we pay into as workers our whole lives. I've been paying into it since I was 16. Dave, you probably paying into it since you were 3. I think your dad had you working at the garage when you finally could, tie your shoes. You're working at the garage. But, that is taking money from us and giving it to people who don't deserve it. And don't deserve it, being that they're not from here and they haven't paid into the system. They can go back to their own country, enhance it, and get their services there, not here.
Well, what I don't understand why she would want that, because it comes out of her pocket too.
It's hard to say, that it is something that's confusing, but it sounds like when she's talking about this, she wasn't for it, but this is what she was being told to do. So she's a whistleblower. She's probably tried to fight back, but as we found out, if your Department of Health Services, they found they had retribution because of if they ever spoke up, by Tim Walz's government, by his office itself, it sounds like. So I can see where this is the final result. You have to go public with it because you're not getting any results from anywhere else. But you're right. If you're a government worker and you're helping the illegal aliens come in, it's coming out of your money. It's raising the prices of food. It's raising the prices of housing. It's reducing the housing. So there's no good reason to do it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and it raises healthcare costs.
Right. Yeah.
It lowers your ability to get help because you got to wait for somebody else. That's illegal.
Right. Emergency rooms are full. There's a list of reasons I can tell you why not to do it. I'm waiting for people. And if you're watching this and you have a comment about it, tell me why it's a good thing to have illegal aliens in our country. I am yet to hear a good, plausible reason from anyone other than people who have a business that they want their cheap labor and they want them to never complain because they can threaten them with deportation if they ever act up.
Yeah.
But that's not a valid reason in my opinion. In next article, we'll post a link here. It's from Fox 9. In 2018, it was reported that there were suitcases full of money traveling out of the Minneapolis St. Paul airport. I'm losing it myself. You were bringing up a good point about this. I fly with that much cash. The IRS is coming at me with a microscope and a rubber glove to figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
So how do they get away with it, especially if they're traveling out of the country? I mean, that should be setting off all the alarm bells.
Yeah, that should be, that should set off so many alarms that it happens once and then that's the end of it.
Right.
And I know people that work at like cash forwarding businesses like Western Union. They'll send cash to other countries or whatever. Mostly Mexico, but that happens too. And they say, 20 times a day, they have to send money to a foreign country.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd be pretty paranoid walking around with a suitcase full of money too. to be quite honest.
Right. Especially when it's illegal. So
yeah. Couple more articles about Walz. One is that Walz was giving this press conference saying how they put fraudsters in jail and how they're doing such a good job because there was like 80 some people that had been arrested and prosecuted for this Feeding Our Future. And this reporter kind of goes, well, you're doing such a good job. Why did you lose billions of dollars before you did it? He went off on him. So this is a pretty funny video to watch when you get a chance. But yeah, the fact that he's claiming that he's been putting people in jail. Well, you let sounds like almost $8 billion or more of fraud to happen in their state. Don't be too proud of yourself for having put a couple people in jail for it. You should have stopped it in the first place. And you created the conditions to allow this to happen. And from what I understand, I think this last week we talked about it was because they would claim racism or you're against our country or our race, and they'd shame the Minnesotans to just stop looking into it. So using your generosity and kindness against you.
But even the federal guy came out and said, yeah, no, we kind of found most of the fraud for him.
Right.
I mean, it just coincidentally happened when Doge was there. So, I mean, that's another reason to hate Elon Musk and to wreck his cars because that affects him.
Right. Yeah. And so my last thing on Walz here is, so Mike Lindell is running for office. He's going to be running for governor, which I am interested in listening to him about. He has if you watch the video that I posted, the first thing he talks about is I was a drug addict. I messed up my life. I was on the edge and I turned it around. So if you're going to attack him for having been a drug addict, you're not going to be making new ground because he's already talked about it. He's always been in the open of it. But he's going to run for governor. And what Walz says is, don't elect a con man. You're going to find out what you're doing when you elect a con man. And the irony of that from a guy who's sitting on top of like $8 billion in fraud scandal going on, it seems like Alanis Morissette should kind of just come and move and live in Minnesota. And she could sing her song all the time.
Of course, her song isn't about irony, but we'll skip that part. But
that's the ironic thing about the song.
Yeah. Irony song.
It's a circular loop. I know Walz took a shot at Trump for being a con man too, but in my opinion, Trump is doing a very good job. And things for us, the regular people. Maybe that's why Governor Walz doesn't like him, because it's not the elite higher ups that he's been looking out for. He's looking out for everybody else that has to work.
Right. And there's people are still complaining about the cost of living and stuff like that. And it's like, you can't expect 4 years of mega inflation, record inflation of the country, and just to instantaneously be able to fix it overnight. It takes a little bit to change this gigantic, the world's strongest economy. It takes a few months to fix that. So
you got to understand too, prices rose. So let's say gas prices rise, and then restaurants will raise their price to cover the cost of that, or grocery stores cover the cost of that. Well, the gas prices will go down. They're not inclined to reduce the prices right away. They would like to not do it at all, actually. They make more profit, but sooner or later it'll trickle down if things keep happening. Things are good because people won't be buying them. And then to get them to buy them, they'll reduce the cost of it and you'll see people buying it. And it kind of goes, but it rolls up a lot faster than it rolls back. And trying to blame Trump for 1 year of trying to fix the problems for the past 4 years. And it was bad. I mean, prices doubled in that 4 years easily.
Right.
And if you don't believe me, go to Taco John's. That's just a good example for me, because he used to be able to go there and get meals. And you're like, me and the wife would go there and we'd be like, I don't know, $12, $15.
Right.
We drove into the place. We came out of there with a couple burritos and a couple tacos, and it was $35 for tacos. I saw another guy at Chipotle He had 2 burritos. I don't know what city or state he was in. It was $60 for 2 burritos. My goodness.
But even, I mean, Burger King and McDonald's are fighting each other with the $5 meals again. So
yeah,
that's the indication of things are slowly going to start coming back down again.
Right.
It's gonna take a while, but yeah, it's coming. It's working on it. So
yeah, people are upset about it not coming down fast enough. I'm delighted it isn't shooting up still, because it kept rising all the time.
Yeah, give Trump a chance, just like John Lennon said. He wrote that song, "Give Trump a chance."
No, is that what his song was?
Yeah. Oh, give peace a chance. Yeah, but the same thing. It's close enough.
He's a visionary, right? In that
he's the
70s.
president. Yeah.
All right, Dave, do we have anything else to talk about with fraud in Minnesota? We've gone 36 minutes of it so far. I think we're done.
I don't think we're done, but we can only cover it for so much.
That's true. I'm looking at the comments we're getting, and they're nonsensical at this point. So I think people are either falling asleep on their keyboards or
right.
But
we can cover the Duluth City Council is going to introduce their budget next week. I'm sure that's rife with fraud. St. Louis County Board, I'm sure that's full of fraud. We got a story later for Hennepin County that's, they're all happy about it, but it's basically fraud. So we could go on. I mean, we could basically go on forever, but let's move on to something more normal.
You got it. So the Duluth City Council met on Monday, and I didn't go to it. I actually went to the gym that night, and we went to the gym I think I was in the truck at 7:20, and I was listening to it on the radio. And we walked out of the gym at 10 o'clock, and it was still going on. I don't know how do you know how long that city council meeting went?
No, I never heard a final number.
That was a marathon. But they did agree, and they needed an 8-1 vote in order to pass this. They passed it. The city council voted 8-1 in support of making parkland available for a prospective development agreement. This is the Lester Park Golf Course in the east end of Duluth. And I was on the committee to take a look at the options for this. We found an option that had a hotel on it. It had restaurants. It was going to be housing, 18 holes of golf. And the only thing they needed from the city, unlike, the new central debacle that was done, the only thing they wanted was 3 things. Number 1, they wanted access to trails. So they wanted the lake walk to end at their place to drive traffic to it. They also wanted links up to the other trails in the neighborhood so people could come there. And number 2, they needed potable water. So they were going to take care of everything else. They just needed the water there. And 3, and this was the big sticking point, the thing that drove me nuts. They demanded that the city of Duluth sell them the land instead of leasing it to them. It didn't drive me nuts that they wanted to be sold. I understand that. I would want it to be sold to me too if I was going to build a business like this.
Yeah.
But this was told to us in the committee, this will never pass the city council because they'll never sell that land. Well, they did pass this, past a point where it's still not a done deal. It's still not all the way through. And it still has to go to the city council, but it doesn't have to be an 8-1 vote anymore. Now it can be a more reasonable one. That's the good news. What's the bad news, Dave?
It's going to cost another $380,000 to do a land use study.
That's true, which is silly because we've had this land for years, and why wasn't it done already? The bad news is we have a new city council coming in January, and it is probably the most liberal city council I have seen in my lifetime here in this city. And we got a lot of tree huggers on it too. So it's going to be very difficult to get a deal down. But if they listen to the deal that this guy proposed, and if it's still the same deal, it is fantastic. We're estimating $10 million of revenue into the city from taxes. You got that cherry hotel tax, right? They get the extra tax on that.
Yeah.
You'd have these restaurants. You'd have the golfing still. and it would be a private course, but it would be open to the public.
Yep.
So there was just win-win-win for this thing. If he can pull it off. It's not like the incline deal, though. This is a guy who's done this before. He has the investors, or he can get the investors. He has a track record of doing it. He grew up here. He used to play golf here. I mean, there's so many benefits to this. I know people want to have their trails and everything, but you got to be able to pay for them too. So they think it's unfair to take away their nature trails, but I think it's unfair to leave you, who probably live in Lakeside, to be able to walk around your area, but us paying for it. We have to pay for insurance, upkeep, make sure if there's any accidents on it, we're going to be paying for that. And we have a lot of trails around there. We have a lot of woods around here people can go to. We have a large trail system in the city already. So it seems rather selfish to me to hold on to it where we could be making this revenue and maybe reducing property taxes for people.
Yeah, and the sacrificial lamb was the one person who voted against it was the person that was on the Lakeside. Yeah. That was her district. So I'm sure it's just pure coincidence that the one person that voted against it, just only one person, but that's what it needed to pass. So was she?
Yeah.
That person
luckily,
must have been up for election or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, she was the only one, so it did pass. So that's all I have to say about that. Anything else you want to talk about Duluth in general or Lester Park specifically?
No, but I would, if I would definitely head over to the city council next Monday, and because that's when they're going to approve their budget. And if you have anything to say about that, people need to get over there. And we just spent a half hour, 40 minutes on fraud in the state. There's got to be a ton of it in the city too. So we got to find out if they're doing any safeguards against fraud in the city, or we're just gonna.
It's not just fraud too. It's like in some states they have high income tax and low property taxes, or no income tax, or high sales tax but no income tax. Minnesota has all the taxes, income, sales, property. I mean, it's just endless. And so maybe it's time for us to start cutting back on some of the programs. It's really tough in Duluth because most of the budget goes for salaries of people that are in the police force and firefighters. We need those. Those are legitimate costs. What we don't need is a land use study, maybe for land that's been being used by the city and controlled by the city for 100 years. Maybe that's not the best use of money.
No.
All right. Let's move on to Minnesota news, shall we?
We shall.
We shall. Minnesota premiums for healthcare are among the highest in the nation. So it's another fancy little thing. Today I'm releasing, this is Dutch Rojas. Today I'm releasing the list of 25 nonprofit health systems that control American healthcare. Combined revenue of $527 billion. Tax exemptions of $37 billion. Taxes paid, goose egg. Total subsidies, $125 billion a year. Isn't that crazy? We're subsidizing a place that has revenue of $527 billion and pays zero taxes.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's supposed to be basically a nonprofit too. So how can they make so much money being a nonprofit?
Well, and the salaries too. The salaries of these guys that are running it. I mean, it's a nonprofit, but they're making millions, and they justify it by saying, "Well, we need the talent." There should be a limit on nonprofits and their payment structure. Now, I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. I don't believe in socialism, communism. But these are nonprofits. They are getting substantial tax breaks. Therefore, we should be able to regulate them to a point where it doesn't seem like we're getting ripped off.
Correct. Add that to your list of bills that you're going to introduce.
Yes, we will do that. This is a little gem that Dave found. Hennepin County is opening a center to stabilize troubled youth, which, that sounds very altruistic, right?
Yep.
It's going to have 13 beds. So 13 kids who are So designated as a bright and safe environment to support children with significant mental health needs.
Yep.
13 beds, $20 million to build it, $7 million annually. To build it, it will cost $2 million per bed. It seems like there's a better way to do that.
And they're just so proud of themselves too. Oh, look at all these people we're helping for $27 million in the first year.
Right. You tell me what.
Really?
You give me $27 million and $7 million a year. I'll figure out a way to house them a lot cheaper than that.
Yeah. And so now we're back, you know, we wanted to get away from fraud, but look at how quickly we're back onto it, you know.
Right back onto it, yep.
And they think, wow, we're doing such a great job for people.
Right. So did you know Dr. Oz had anything to do with the federal government?
Yeah, I heard he got a secretary job. I don't know.
It's the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And this is Dr. Oz, the TV guy. He gave Minnesota a list of demands they must follow to receive the money. The state has issued a statement to Minnesota Local Care News saying they will comply to this. So it's good at the federal level that they are starting to crack down on this. You have to comply with this or you're not getting federal dollars. It's kind of a double-edged sword with this kind of thing. We pay into the federal government. That's our money. But at the same time, if the federal government's overseeing something, they get to pick the rules. That's the reason you don't have a big federal government, is because you want it more locally controlled. That guy's got fantastic hair. Man, that's like a plate. It's like a hard hat.
That's hurricane proof right there.
It is.
There's Dr. Oz.
There he is. Yeah, we don't need to play the video, but it's good to see.
Yeah, there's got to be rules, and there's got to be some sort of defraud, you know, make it extremely, if not impossible, to defraud it.
Right. We already talked about the next one, which is Mike Lindell is going to, he formally announced his run for Minnesota governor. We got Lisa Demuth, we got Kendall Qualls, we got Chris Robbins. We got a lot of really good candidates. If you're a Republican, we need to get this list down fast.
Yeah. Dr. Jensen's
running. I mean, there's a lot of people running. But that list needs to get winnowed down fairly quickly. I really like primary is? No, that doesn't happen till like March or May or August or something like that. It's way down.
Yeah, it should be February.
But they do have the endorsement process coming up soon. That's a major step, because if you get endorsed by the Republican Party and you're running as a Republican, there's still going to be a couple people probably in the primary, but it should winnow it down quite a bit. I really like Kendall Qualls. I mean, as a guy, I think I could hang out with him all day long.
Yeah.
When Lisa stepped in, she kind of raised to, and this is all personal opinion right now, and I haven't really studied this, so this is going to change throughout the year. Lisa jumped to the top because she's current speaker. The downside is, for her running for governor, she has to step down from her role. So she can't run for Minnesota House because she's going to be running for governor. Yeah. Minnesota House goes every 2 years. So we're going to lose Lisa from Minnesota House. If she wins, no big deal. If she loses, big deal. That's a big problem, because she's very good. And then Mike Lindell, what are your thoughts on Mike, Dave?
Well, he's a business owner. He's successfully started what I would consider a relatively useless company, but he made a lot of money off of it. And he's a very good, he would crush Walz in a debate.
Yeah.
And he's got name recognition.
Right.
Where you look at everybody else, they don't really have name recognition like Lindell does.
Right.
So, you know, And that's what how Trump skipped over everybody and got president. He never had to run for Senate and go through the system.
It's true.
Says, well, is Lindell going to be the same way? I know he can run a business.
Right.
Is it?
So I went to an American Experiment.
I really don't know for sure.
I went to an American Experiment holiday party Monday night, and I went with the intent of walking around and talking to people I respected to find out what they thought of him. And it's all over the place. But one woman I talked to, who's very smart, said when Donald Trump said he was going to run back in 2015 or not even, or even before that, she just disregarded. There's no way I'd ever vote for him.
Right.
But then as she found out more, now she's a big supporter. I think it's the same thing. Don't just count them out because of what you've heard or what you may think you know or don't know. But I think you're right, Dave. It brings a lot of national attention to the state. And he's one of Trump's buddies, I believe, which could bring Trump to the state, which could be a lot of juice for him too. So I think it's interesting. I'm not saying he's the guy I'm going to vote for yet. What I'm saying is he's raised up into the top 5 for me for right now.
Yeah, for right now. I want to hear what he has to say. I've been following the rest of them online just to see what they're saying. But when it really comes down to it, I want to need more information on these people to see what their mentality is how to run the state and stuff like that.
Right.
Before we make a decision. Yeah.
We need to get rid of Walz. We must get rid of Walz.
And I think Walz is going to get dumped by the Democrat Party.
Very well could. He's an interesting cat too. It's the same thing. He's got the name recognition. He has the governorship right now. Will somebody come up and do a real primary challenge to him? Maybe.
Yeah, but they did that to Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, Biden was the president of the United States, but he was no longer useful to the Democrat Party, so they got rid of him.
As bad as I think Walz is, I think he at least has his mental capacity to understand what's going on, as opposed to Biden. I don't think he understood it.
But true, but like we talked about, Walz is head of the biggest fraud in American history.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a Democrat and looking at it, you'd go, well, he's a problem. Yes. Let's get rid of our problem. So I think the Democrats might come after him and get rid of him before I know he's announced he's going to go for governor again, but I have a feeling that the Democrats are going to get rid of him before we have a chance to throw him out of office.
Hey, either way works for me.
Correct.
His party he gets out of his backing, or we vote him out. That works for me just fine.
Yep.
Next story. Justice Department sues the public school district over allegedly discriminatory policies. The Justice Department filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against Minneapolis Public School Board over alleged racial discrimination against teachers. The defendants have worked with a teachers union to provide Black teachers, teachers of color, and underrepresented teachers preferential treatment in employment decisions. So, yes, this is something that shouldn't be happening, regardless of the race of the people. I don't care what race it is. Stop giving preferential teacher treatment. Let people earn things on merit or family ties. One of the two.
And once again, Ellison keeps suing the federals, so the federals are going to come back and sue him right back. Right. So, it just goes around in circles.
Right. Next story. Twin Cities residents monitor for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement activity around schools. Like you said, Dave, where are they when you need them? This is something that is they think is the number one priority. And you'll see even there's a woman that says, I stand with immigrants. What they conveniently leave out is we're talking about illegal aliens. We're not talking about immigrants here. Immigrants are able to go to school. Again, I've known immigrants that have come to this country My family immigrated to this country at the beginning of the last century. I work with people who are fresh immigrants who came to this country, integrated, assimilated, but not full. I mean, they hold their own religion, they have their own thing going on, and it's great. But they also live here and they want to make it better here. They're not trying to make it better for back home. I heard a really interesting thing from a YouTuber her name is Baggage Claim. That's her handle. And she had a whole thing about immigration. And she is from India. I believe she was born in India. She came here and immigrated with her parents and talked about how important it was to integrate when she came over here. This is, I think, 30 or 40 years ago. And she said a really interesting thing. She says, America used to be a melting pot. Now it seems like a salad bowl, right? We don't meld together. We're like a salad. Everybody's all just distinct. And we can't have that as a country because we can't hold together like that. If you come here, if I was to go to another country, I would adopt their culture, adopt their customs, and look out for the people there. That doesn't mean you're betraying your original country, but this is the place you're living. Try to make the place you're living in better.
Right. But as we mentioned earlier, this is so they're protecting the schools from ICE agents. But when there was the Annunciation shooting, where were the parents there standing outside watching the schools for the shootings?
Right.
You know, do they want their kids being shot? Obviously, that's less important to them than making sure someone who is here illegally doesn't get deported.
Well, this is easy, though. I mean, you can make a big fuss. You could feel so good about yourself. Leveraging, trying to get ex-military guys or people with that are armed to patrol the schools and to be a first responder. That takes effort and money, and that's not as easy. So, and you don't feel as good about yourself. So,
yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Minneapolis police chief says officers will be fired if they don't stop ICE. And I was like, really? Are you serious? There's the police chief right there on the left side. And there's Frey, the mayor right next to him there, still looking like he just had some excellent cuisine like he did. If you saw that video of him eating, it was hilarious. And then I found out that the police chief is from, I think, New Jersey. His wife's name is Wafiyah, Wafiyah. So he is married to, it seems like, an immigrant, probably legal, but that's guiding his policy making, apparently. He's not looking out for you as, the federal government has ICE agents. You have to protect them. He's looking out to make sure that he wants them to arrest the ICE agents.
Right.
Do you know what's going to happen if they try to do that? That would be crazy. That could cause a big problem.
Yeah, and I don't understand why the law enforcement is against law enforcement.
Exactly. Or thinks he could do something about it.
Yeah, the whole thing doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then you showed me the picture of what his wife, who she is, and it kind of made a little bit more sense of, where his thought process is coming from. So,
right. It's good for you. So this is what you're going to do.
Right.
All right.
But still,
that's it for Minnesota news. Anything else for Minnesota news?
Nope, that covers it, I think.
This is going to be a strange show from our normal shows. We hardly have any national or international news. So we've covered the majority of what we're going to be talking about today with Minnesota and Duluth. A couple of these just are more curiosity things to me than anything else. Yeah. First one is Senator Chuck Schumer has formally introduced a resolution to condemn Nick Fuentes for his views and Tucker Carlson for platforming him on his podcast. So if you don't know who this is, Nick Fuentes, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He's a quote unquote a conservative YouTuber. And Tucker Carlson, he used to be on Fox News. He was an anchor. Now he has his own show. And people got really upset because Tucker Carlson allowed Nick Fuentes to come on a show and interviewed him. And that apparently is something you don't allow. So this resolution, this is the United States government spending time on this. Is Chuck Schumer, majority leader. He condemns Fuentes for having likened organized Jewry, which sounds like Jewry, to a transnational gang, using tropes like globalists, and suggests Jews secretly control media, finance, and government. So what? So he can claim it all he likes. He has to back it up. If he doesn't back it up, why would you even care what he has to say? There's other things in here. It's just ridiculous that there's even 30 seconds spent in the national government for things like this. And Chuck Schumer, really, find something better to do. Maybe it's time to retire, Chuck. Maybe go off, enjoy whatever you like to do. Let somebody younger take over. And maybe they'll pass some laws that have good stuff for us instead of resolutions for people saying what they think. I mean, isn't this a First Amendment issue? I think it is.
Well, yeah, it's a complete First Amendment. They have the right to say whatever they want.
Right. Well, luckily, no Senate Republicans signed on to that point, so that's good.
Yeah, no one with a brain signed on to it.
Yeah. Another one, House Democrats move to impeach RFK Jr. and Hegseth. So another useful time saver right here. Something that's really helping the American people is to try to impeach these two guys. RFK Jr. being health. Is he he's not the Surgeon General, is he? He's in charge of Health and Human Services.
Health and Human Services.
And that the Secretary of Department of War. So, okay, I guess if that's what you're going to spend your time on, really, really appreciate it as American citizens that this is what you do.
And so, they don't control, Democrats don't control any House or the Senate. So this is dead. It's already dead.
Yeah, so. It's already dead. They just knocked down one where they're trying to impeach Trump again. So that one got knocked out.
But just wasting everybody's time.
Right. And distracting people.
Right.
This is a little fun one just thrown in there for no good reason. But Mark Zuckerberg, owner of Facebook or whatever it's called. I can't remember what the Meta.
Yeah.
He's an outspoken critic of man-made climate change, right? Well, here's his $300 million yacht, 287 foot, powered by 4 gigantic diesel engines. He probably has a yacht bigger than most people's to get him to his yacht.
Right. And see, that's what the real thing is on these is the yacht is so big, yet it doesn't have room for the toys. So there's another yacht chasing that yacht.
God.
So there's another 150-foot yacht behind it with all the toys on it so they can play because it doesn't have room for all of his toys.
He bought a ton of land in Kauai and built a bunker there, but he was upset. He wanted to put up fences so his neighbors couldn't see him. I'm like, Zuckerberg, you're concerned about privacy. How ironic. I'm going to have to start paying retainers to Atlanta Morissette. I swear to God. We should just have that as our in-go and out-go song.
Right.
Let's see. What's this? Republicans launches bill to force fathers to pay for half of pregnancy expenses. This is in the UK?
No, this is in Iowa. This is our Iowa representative federal.
Oh, I only thought it was because it's on the UK paper for news.
No, because it said she was from Iowa. Republican Congressman Ashley Hinson of Iowa. So basically what she wants is instead of paying for, once they prove you're the father, they want, then you start paying for half the things. But she wants it to go back to conception.
Oh.
So you have to, without even being tested to know if it's your kid, if she says it's your kid, then it's your kid, to start paying for half of her bills, medical bills, prior to the kid even being born.
Well, that leaves an interesting question in my mind, which is, Does that mean then if they pass this, that the father gets a 50% say in whether or not the pregnancy is terminated?
No, because if the woman decides to terminate, then he doesn't have to pay for that. But he does
Right,
have to
but
pay for half of her insurance and half of the medical bills up to. So before it used to be from day of birth, but now
yeah,
she wants to move it 9 months ahead to conception.
there's a
So
lot of expenses that go into being pregnant. So I kind of get the idea. I don't like the government coming in and saying you have to do it. I would hope that people
right,
who have kids together are paying for each other anyway. So I
but
get the
the real
notion, but I don't see this as being the top thing I would be working on.
but the real problem is then it's we just believe women. So if she says you're the father, you have to pay it.
I would think they could do DNA testing even in the womb, right? I mean, I wouldn't want them
That's
to.
no, and that's part of the thing is they're not going to. She just says you're the
Mm,
probably the father, so you're even though we can't prove it, you're going to pay for it.
that
Ah,
seems problematic.
yes, it does.
This is
So
dicey. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on this one, see what happens.
hopefully that one doesn't pass. I mean, unless you can prove that, you know, I don't know if you can videotape what's going on,
Yeah.
but that's a different channel.
Whoa, 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 whoa. It's not, I'm not Googling that.
So yeah,
All right.
there's so many things wrong with it that it just boggles the mind. So let's pass over. But I thought it was interesting to.
All right. We'll end there and we're going to go to international news. And we just have a few of these too, but they're really interesting. Number one, EU approves a new mandate for blanket scanning of public's private messages to protect children. Did you put this one on or did I do it?
You put that one on.
So the Council of the European Union, because, you know, they don't have enough government with the UK and, you know, they have one of those, they want so much government, they put a government on top of the government. That's the EU.
Yeah.
So they basically have given themselves the ability to go through your private messages whenever they like. And I don't understand how the EU ever got that kind of power. Or, you know, they were supposed to be an economic consolidation of companies to compete against the United States and China, right?
Right.
That was all it was for. But the laws they're passing now are so draconian. It's incredible. And I don't know how it's going to last. Sooner or later, it's going to fall apart. I can't see this thing lasting.
No, and Australia just passed no social media for 15 and younger. So they're going
Yes, that's Australia, right?
to Australia, yeah. So they banned all of social media for all. So they can, you know, it's I don't know if it's exactly the same thing, but it's on the same line as we're going to control your content is what it boils down to.
Well, I'll skip ahead a couple. The EU fined Elon Musk 120 million euros because he's apparently not doing enough to protect whatever. You know, it's a vague thing. And
Yeah.
he basically told them to sit and spin on that one. And that's the right response. They're an American company and we have the First Amendment. And you can't,
Right.
if they allow this to happen, that means these little European countries can control US companies. That is not the way things are supposed to work.
Right.
So right now with Trump in charge, it's not going anywhere. But if Biden was in charge, this would be, you know, he'd be like, oh yeah, there's a good way to get money out of Elon Musk.
There's another revenue source.
Revenue, yes. Not taxation, it's revenue because
It's revenue, yeah.
I want to talk about a Swiss man. He was put in jail, literally put in jail for saying that there's only two sexes. What he said was there is fundamental difference between a male and a female skeleton. And then he was fined. And then his choices were pay the fine. It's a great picture there. 3 skeletons sitting up. And he said, no, I'm not paying the fine. So he's going to prison for 10 days. That crazy?
Yeah, from the people who are talking about, well, COVID, you're not believing science. Why aren't you believing science?
Right.
Well, this guy showed on I seen another story. He was showing with skeletons. He was proving, see,
Yeah.
this is different. This is different. Here is science that proves that these two are different. And he goes to jail for it.
Yeah. It has to do with the pelvis, I believe. I mean, I saw those pictures too, and they look similar, but there's spreading and the holes are smaller. And so I don't understand it. I never took that kind of health class. So we watched Phil Donahue in our health class.
Well, that's the same. Yeah. Medical class, Phil Donahue. Yeah. There was like 10 differences. So
it's something they can identify bones from. So
correct. Yeah.
Just to put somebody in jail for saying that, that's the height of hypocrisy. That's 1984 stuff. Make them believe the lies and make them repeat the lies. And once you get them to repeat the lies, you win.
Yeah.
A little bit about the Ukraine-Russian war. So the EU wants to take the Russian seized assets, because they seized a bunch of their assets before the war, and they want to give those to Ukraine so they can turn around and give the money back to the European countries for weapons. And it's a loan. And it's a loan that will be payable once Russia loses and pays reparations. And then Ukraine has to pay it back. That I can't even make this up. What is the mob running the EU now?
Right.
That's ingenious. And there's a big controversy about this, because if they were successful in doing this, no foreign market would ever bank anywhere in the EU, ever.
Right.
Why would you? They take your money, they give it away, and then you only get it back. You'll never get it back. Well, you would get it back if you paid that country reparations, goes back to the EU, and then they pay you back your money. It's the only way you get your money back. It's insanity.
Complete ridiculousness over there. I mean, and then with the digital ID, I'd be afraid to go over there nowadays. You know?
Right. Well, tell you what, if you're going to go over there, you buy a brand new phone with nothing on it, because they will search it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want your phone numbers and your photos and your private emails and your texts to be publicly available to these guys to scourge through and then maybe put you in jail for, I mean, God forbid you sent a picture to somebody saying here's the difference between a male and a female's bone structure. You could go to jail for that, clearly.
Right. Last night on Gutfeld, they were talking about a new company in California called GTFO, where if you didn't like America anymore because of Trump, and they have everything set up to send you to Denmark, which is in Europe, which is having the same problem, so they would figure out how to do your visas and your passports but get you a house in Denmark, because of Trump is so bad and immigration is so bad over here.
They must have had a huge line of people taking them up on that offer.
Well, it is kind of humorous, to go to the EU, basically to go to Europe, except they picked a country that just banned the burqas.
Oh, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, so they basically banning diversity so then, why would you do something like that? Or they're going to send you to a more, I don't know. I thought it was funny they're sending you to a more white country.
Right. That's true. Speaking of which, our last story, the UN, the bastion of fairness and light, condemns Sweden's stop and search zones as racial discrimination. They published a comprehensive report on Sweden's effort to combat racism, in which it issued several criticisms. In particular, it condemned the measure that allows police to conduct body and vehicle searches in certain zones without specific suspicion, stating that this constitutes racial discriminations. Why is that racially discriminating when you're just saying these zones you can stop and search people? I mean, if it's the fact that these are let's just pick black as the race, because I'm guessing that's what it is, but I don't know. Maybe it's gypsies. Who knows? This is the EU. But if there's areas where they're only those people, maybe that's a problem too. You know, I mean, you've got a zone of just one certain people, but yeah, I understand if you can't just pick the zones where certain people live and say that's a place that we can do things that are outside our constitutional authority. It just seems really odd without knowing the specifics of it, that if you're saying you can stop and search somebody, it's racially discriminating. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I know both Sweden and Norway fell for this immigration thing, and they imported massive amounts of Muslims. Then sexual assaults went up 853%. So, now Sweden has a sexual assault program, and I could show you the video on that because that's absolutely hilarious, but it'd take me too long to find it now. But this how to stop rape over there is pretty hilarious.
Yes.
So that might be their solution to figuring out who belongs, who doesn't belong, and how to stop these nonstop sexual assaults.
Yeah.
If they go into certain areas with the intent, it'd be, to me, it's kind of like, it's sort of like getting rid of, ICE showing up.
Kind of.
They're trying to find out, but they're going to start with the bad people, and hopefully then if you're only stuck with the good ones, that's fine.
Yeah, if they're targeting zones like that because of what's happening in that zone, then there's no reason to fight that. If they're targeting those zones because of a population that lives there only, then that's a problem. I agree with that. All right, that's it for international news. Pretty quick.
Wow.
Anything else you got?
No, I'm sure there's fraud out there somewhere, though.
Well, let's talk about health and fitness. So you found a thing that says there's 50-pound weight loss sparked by 3 simple habits, which are, go.
Quitting alcohol, eating better, and exercise.
Ooh, wait. You lost me.
I know. How could this not be national news that, starting out nationals? We need to call the Harvard Medical Science Bureau and tell them what's going on, because all you need to do is quit drinking alcohol, exercise, and eat right, and you lose weight. Can you believe that?
Mankind's been around for thousands of years and we never discovered this before.
Right.
Well,
and to me, the funniest part is that they published it.
Well, why not?
I mean, is there actually nothing else to share?
Well, sometimes having no news or bad news or like not bad news, but having no news or simple news like this is fun because nothing else bad is going on. It's not a bad thing necessarily.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get into some, there's something we could present on the show, and it's like, no.
Well, but we did anyway. See, that's how we roll here. All right, let's go through the word of the day. The word of the day is redress. Dave, take us through the word of the day.
Redress, a transitive verb, to set right, remedy, or rectify. And this comes from, we found this one. I've seen a lot of reports about people not understanding the amendments. So we're gonna go through the amendments and find the words that are old school European, and to explain each one. If there's goofy words in there from Old England, that to explain what's going on. But the first amendment is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government to redress of grievances. So you can petition the government to rectify or remedy a grievance.
Oh,
So
I'm
that's
getting
part
it
of
now.
that's where the word comes from.
Is this the R word they're yelling at Tim Walz's house?
No, it's close. That's a different R word.
Redress. No? Okay.
Maybe that was from his daughter.
That could be.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for the show tonight. We had a big week. We had a short that had the most number of views we had. We had 10 people subscribe, which is great. If you're watching this and you know people that may like it, please subscribe. Please like it if you can. If you have comments for us, please send us your comments. We always try to make the show better. We're just making this up as we go. This is unscripted, clearly. We're just trying to get some news out to people that may not have seen it or talk about issues that people want to talk about. So we're all about learning here. But I got to do the shaka. Everybody hang loose. Try to stay warm this weekend. If you're in Minnesota, it's going to be cold. Otherwise, I think that's it, huh?
That's about it for this week.
All right. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for hanging on. Thanks for watching the whole show, and we will see you next week.